In here that wants to do it but doesn't do it? Okay. Today's going to be more of a question and answer session. So what does everybody have? What do you want to know about direct mail? Cost? Okay, see these big cards here. What are the stamp costs nowadays?
44 cents.
I mail these things out for 14 cents using a bulk mail permit. I gave you guys a little pamphlet there from the post office, and you can use that to submit these mailers to the post office. How it basically works is you use the saturation method, and what that is you basically mail to everybody in the given zip code. So you might think to yourself, I don't want to mail to everybody in the zip code because all those houses aren't so hot. I don't want them to be getting my mail. What I did a couple years ago is I really segmented our work area. We would cover about 200 zip codes. I put all those zip codes in a spreadsheet and put the median household income next to those towns in the spreadsheet, and I sorted it, highest to lowest. I picked the top 10% of that list, the people and the zip codes really that make the most money, and that's where we concentrate sending these pieces. I found it the most cost-effective way to get tons of mailers out to a lot of people, and now we send out about 20,000 of these a week. So who wants to get into direct mail, and what kind of questions do you have?
How much business do you get from 20? You said 20,000 a week.
Yeah.
So how much business? How many jobs do you get from sending 20 pieces out?
We get about depending on the time of year they go out, and depending on where they go, we'll get anywhere from 1.5% to 2% response rate. It might sound kind of low, but when you're sending out that many, it's not really that low. You'll get a lot more from it. We also mail out these smaller ones that are included in here. These always go to our regular clientele, our database. These produce a much higher yield. We can see upwards of 3% on these.
What is your printing for you? Do you get a good rate for getting so many cards or whatever?
Actually, I just started a printing company, so I get a really good rate.
Typically
in the past, though, I've used Vistaprint. I've used printforlessdirect.com. These templates we do have available for sale, so you can get one for like $250 with your name customized on it, and you'll get the exact same or lower price on them from Print Direct for less.
Saturation method. What's your take on very precise mailing lists? I know that you're going to pay more per piece,
yeah,
but you can also get more, I guess, if you want specific. So what's your take on that?
At first, when I first opened up my doors and I graduated from flyers to direct mail, I was doing very targeted lists. There weren't the computer services that are available today, available then. So I would put together basically a mailing list. I would cruise through all the best neighborhoods and jot down addresses and things like that. I got a great response rate from that, but I can't do that in scale. I really wanted this business to scale, and to do that I absolutely had to expand to this method.
How did you go from, and maybe this is a question a lot of guys here have, I know I do, my little flyer techniques or to like making that next step, like I hand out my brochures and I go door to door and we drive around. What did it for you? When did you say, wait a second, this is not, what was the step, you know what I mean? Like I'm direct mail, you're going to talk about it for a half hour, I want to do it, but when I go home I'm going to be like, out of here.
This is
Convince me to do it.
Yeah, I got my very first job from putting a flyer in somebody's mailbox. I just cruised up to a rich neighborhood, not where I lived, a couple towns away, and I put out maybe 100 flyers that day, and I got home, didn't have a cell phone then, and there was 2 jobs waiting on my answering machine for me. And I was like, wow, this really works. So I continued to pump out flyers by myself for about another year or so. I spent half my time working on putting out flyers than my other time cleaning glass. And I said, man, there's got to be a better way. I want to put out 5,000 flyers a week, but I just can't do it. I have to hire somebody to do that then. And then if they put those flyers out in the post office box, will it get to the people? Will the mailman take it? Is it ethical? Am I doing the right thing by doing that? And I couldn't scale. So I just started very small. I committed myself to making some postcards, and I said, okay, this week I'm going to do 1,000. And hopefully in 2 months from now, I'll be able to put out a 2,000.
So at first you were buying 44-cent stamps, just like I would do, or did you start right into the direct mail? You know what I mean?
No, I hopped right into this. I did some research.
Somebody help you out? I mean,
No, I made a lot of annoying phone calls to post offices. The postman hated me
well,
because
you did a lot of work, so we are
Yeah.
thankful in advance for putting
Yeah.
this back together. But
really it took me about 3 years to figure out the best way to get this direct mail thing working. Because the post office doesn't want to give you this information. They don't want to help you with this because they don't want to be carrying these things around all day. They're heavy. They're real heavy. The best thing about these real big size ones are when the mailman delivers the mail, it's all sitting on top of this. There's no way the homeowner's not going to see it.
wait, say that again. It's all sitting up.
The mail's sitting on top of it. It folds. It goes in the mailbox. So the mail just sits on top of that. They don't fold that like trifold it and put it in the mailbox. It just goes into the mailbox like that.
Goes in,
and all
yeah,
the mail sits
just
on
like
top of
that.
that.
So the homeowner has no choice but to read it. Another thing I really love about direct mail is people do not know they want their windows cleaned until they get this.
Oh, I agree.
If you just sit around and wait for somebody to bill you, or sit around and wait for somebody to see your truck in public, or look you up in the phone book, you're just sitting around and waiting for something to happen. With this, you're being extremely proactive and putting it in their face. People want to keep up with the Joneses, and they see this, and they know all their neighbors got it. They better get their windows clean and keep up.
20,000 a week. What does that cost from start to finish? Like your printing,
The whole thing usually ends up costing us, depending on how we get things printed and how we get them delivered, about $125,000 a year.
No, I mean like, okay.
Yeah.
Like 20,000. So if you did 20,000 for 50.
Unit cost, maybe?
Well, 20,000 pieces I can get printed for, I don't know, under $1,000. So you got that, and then you got the postage at 14 cents a piece, and then you gotta get somebody to put the address on it for you. So, $3,000 maybe. Another great thing about mailing the saturation method, there's 2 types of routes. You have the rural and basically the commercial routes. With the rural routes, where all the homes you want to hit are, you don't even need to know their name or anything like that. You just have your printer put on there, resident, Sparta, New Jersey, 07871. So you find out from the post office how many routes they have. They say, okay, we have 5,000 deliverables, so you just get that many printed with that on there. No need to know their address or anything like that. Stuart?
No, I came in late, so if I asked the question, I was already answered.
Yeah.
So with the saturation, it doesn't matter what the house looks like, you just send it out basically to that particular area.
Yeah, it's gonna have to go to everybody in the zip code. There's another way to do it now that we're starting to explore this year. Each zip code is made up of several routes, so we ended up buying these maps. They're very expensive, unfortunately. They're about $150 a pop. They're about this big, and they'll show you all the routes in each zip code. So this year instead, we bought about 15 maps and combed over those maps pretty heavily and picked the streets that were the best, because you might have a real rich zip code with some very nice houses, but they may also have some complexes that would be undesirable for you to mail to.
Being that you do the saturation method, do you turn down work? It comes in. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, somebody calls you up with 5 windows they want cleaned, and they see your thing. Do you turn?
Old
do you,
ladies and
do you turn that? Do you turn it down?
No, we'll work with them and try to make a way for it to happen. We have a $125 minimum on all residential work to show up anywhere. We don't want to take the ladders off the trucks.
Correct.
But we say, Mrs. Jones, we want to try to make this work for you. You have some light fixtures we can clean, a skylight, maybe you can hook up with your neighbor there. And the only people now that we service under 125 are those people that have been with me from the beginning. When they call the company, they ask for me. Oh, okay, Chris, come clean the windows. We'll go cruise somewhere for $35 for that, just to keep somebody happy.
Keep somebody happy. I got you.
Yeah.
How about a minimum? So you're mailing 20,000 out of the pop. Is there a minimum that you can use with this method?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no maximum basically. You can, if a zip code only has 1,000 stops in it,
Yeah.
by all means you can do that. Yeah, you don't need to do it on the scale.